Welcome back to the Honolulu Blues show, where we talk about the Detroit Lions. I guess I'm just a little excited because it's not a victory Monday, but it's a victory Wednesday, coming off a victory. And Julius, oh baby, does this feel good? We haven't had because I feel like this victory is different because last year's when we got our first win, we knew playoffs were done. It was pretty much just like, hey, we're not getting skunked on the season. But this time, our first win comes at a point of, hey, now we might be looking at playoffs. So, how you feeling after this nice little dubski?
I'm feeling great. I mean, this is last year we started off the season 0-9 before the tie in Pittsburgh and then the win in Minnesota. So, I'm just glad that we won so early in the season. I didn't want to. If we would have started 0-2, it would have been a whole different vibe, bro. Even if we would have in the same circumstance, but let's just say Washington would have came back and won that game, we didn't hold them. It would have been a hugely different vibe, regardless of statistics, regardless of whatever. We'll be like, oh, the season is probably over. We're probably not good enough, but it's not like that. Emotions are optimistic.
Yeah, man, and honestly, it started to. That second half, it was like 22-0 touchdown, 22-7. All right, Lions. And then I want to say they kicked a field goal, or maybe we didn't even score, and they got another touchdown.
We went on one of our little offensive droughts that the Lions like to go on. I think we had 3 straight 3-and-outs in the third quarter, and they scored a couple touchdowns in a row.
Yeah,
they even got the 2-point conversions, and I know every Lions fan was just sitting back yeah.
Yes, sir. And every Lions fan was like, "No, come on, this isn't that team. This is not that team." And sure enough, we proved it. We held on to the lead, thankfully. But the Commanders, they did make it a little dicey at the end. If they would have, kicked that extra point or made it, it would have been an 8-point game in which they would have been kicking an onside kick, in which an onside kick was recovered already this week. So it can happen, by the Jets. They had a crazy upset. So honestly, by just how the NFL worked this week, if the Commanders honestly made this extra point, it wouldn't have shocked me if they won this game in some funky, weird onside kick, 2-point conversion, overtime, weird ass victory, because we saw the Jets get that crazy win. We saw the Ravens blow it to the Dolphins, and then there was one more game that I can't think of. That was a super, super weird one. But all in all, it was a fun week in the NFL. Glad our boys got it done. Not a whole lot of news. There was some little news, injury reports. Ragnow, he's off the injury report, which is good. But the big one, John Kaminsky had to have surgery. I don't know the extent of it, but it seemed like from what Dan Campbell said, he's not going to miss, the 4-game IR time. I don't think we're going to be putting him on IR unless it gets worse. But Kaminsky will at least miss a couple games. Hopefully Levi can, get back. I know he's not going to be able to come back until week 4, but week 4, I hope he's going to be there. And then Jonah Jackson, he's been day-to-day. Deandre Swift was given the day off for rest. And Hutchinson, he didn't practice, but this is kind of just a time heals wound injury. So anything I'm missing here, Julius? Are we ready to talk this game?
This sounds about good on the injury front. I mean, I can't be too, Jeff Okudah's name on there. When Jeff Okudah went down with that injury, with that cramp in his leg, it looked like he had hurt his Achilles again and that he was out. He was done.
Bro, it was scary. It was like, no, he was playing good too. And week 1 and week 2, and it was like, come on, just get up, Okudah.
Same thing with Aiden. He started limping, started coming out and stuff, and I'm getting worried. Like, oh snap, is this another one of our, injury bug? But no, it seems like all is well for the most part.
Yeah, Aiden's was weird because he came back in, and his told me, we were talking about this before, but the fact that he came back in and he's our prized possession, it showed me that, all right, this is like maybe a blister, a cramp, and something that you can't really make worse to not being able to play. It was kind of just you got to play through it, tough it out, which our boy Hutch did. So Good to see. He did break the Lions rookie sack record with 3, and not just the full game, but he did in the first half, which was pretty awesome. And the sacks, they were interesting because they weren't your typical, coming around the edge, just straight shot at the quarterback. He was like controlling the lineman, finding the spot, and like just making the right moves to allow Carson Wentz to come pretty much right into his arms. And that happened on 2 of his sacks. And then one of his sacks, he did have a nice, coming around the end, just got him. So Hutch, seeing these 3 sacks, Julius, are we still sitting at 9-10 over under? Or are we bumping it up 1 or 2?
Listen, we already know my prediction. I predict him to have double-digit sacks and be defensive rookie of the year. And everything I saw against the Redskins and the Eagles validates that feeling I have. And I just want Lions fans to know we are lucky to have him because he is a stud. And we're lucky. We're just
yeah. And honestly, Trayvon Walker, he does have a sack, but he's not producing. He does have 3. I know that for sure. So you never know what other guys could be. But I'm glad we got Hutch. So it wasn't just him dominating the defense. The Lions honestly looked really, really good coming out of the gate. And this is now back-to-back weeks where we forced the opposing team a 3-and-out on their first drive. So it wasn't just the first drive the Commanders had a 3-and-out. It was the second drive they had a 3-and-out. And then no, they did not have a 3-and-out their third drive. They had a 2-and-out where they had 2 plays and got a safety. And then I know what you guys are thinking. The Commanders, they had to get their stuff together, make a big drive in the first half against the Lions. Wrong. Another 3-and-out. That's 4. Lions get the ball back. We take a field goal. We're up 15-0. Commanders are just struggling. They need something. Guess what happens, Julius? Another 3-and-out, baby. That's 5 straight 3-and-outs. Some would say a 2-and-out. Safety doesn't count as a 3-and-out, but, same thing. And then finally, their last 2 drives before the end of the half, the Commanders had a 6-play, 10-yard drive and a 6-play, 14-yard drive. So honestly, this was an A-plus first half from the defense, the offense. It was very good. And honestly, this came against, yes, the Commanders are, probably not playoff team. Maybe, you never know, but they're not, a Texans, a Jets, a Bears, one of the bottom barrel teams. So it was nice that we could put a good old butt whipping on, a solid team.
You are right, my friend. And that first half, the Lions dominated. The defense set the tone from the get-go. The pass rush was alive from the get-go. Malcolm Rodriguez, 6th round. This guy's one of the best rookie defenders in the league by eye test and analytics. I mean, and he's a starter through and through. Our special teams dominated the whole game. If you look at the special teams numbers, Jack Fox was like an alien punter. He flipped the field like 3 times. Our coverage was like 100%, no missed assignments. I mean, everything about it, even our kicking situation, Austin Seibert, we're not worrying about our kicker right now, missing extra points and field goals like some other teams right now.
Exactly.
So, I mean, through and through, it was just perfect for the Lions. And the Lions are not going to have a shutdown defense, okay? They're going to have a better defense, though. Like, this is not the defense of Matt Patricia era. That is over. And our offense is clicking. So I think we could beat just about any team in the NFL right now. And that first half proved it.
I agree with you, Julius. It was kind of funny because after week 1, I don't know if you're a Barstool guy, but one of their podcasts, one of the Barstool guys, he was talking and he's like, the Detroit Lions are a team that can lose by 3 points or win by 3 points against any team in the NFL. It could be the Jets or it could be the Chiefs. They could win or lose by 3 points. So it was pretty spot on, honestly, because the Lions, our defense can be not the best in the world, because we were all expecting we were going to have, this stout defense. Then lo and behold, Swift takes the next step. Amon-Ra takes, 15 steps, and we have dare I say, the best offense in the NFL through 2 weeks. It looks like it. We scored the most points out of any offense in the NFL. The Bills are the only team in the NFL with more total points than us, but they had a pick six, and they only have one more total point than us. The Lions have 71 total points. Bills have 72. So the offense, it is clicking. And then it was kind of ironic because I want to say our last 2 games, or maybe it was last 9 quarters, or there was some stat where the Lions had scored a touchdown each quarter, and on either their first drive or it was a touchdown in the red zone. That's what it was. And of course, the first drive we get in the red zone, we settled for a field goal, and I was like, they jinxed us on that. So can't win them all, but hey, man, this first half was pretty special.
I agree. And honestly, the offense is totally different. The offense is totally different than it was last year at this point. Last year at this point, Jared Goff was lost. Deandre Swift was injured. Our offensive line we had a rookie Ben Penei Sewell. Taylor Decker was out. Ragnow was out. We had no receivers to speak of other than Amon-Ra, who was still learning the offense. And I remember us talking early last season. Man, Amon-Ra, man, we had so many hopes for this guy. We thought he was going to be a breakout in the 4th round. Man, he's been nowhere to be found. He can't even get open. I don't know what's going on. Now he's one of the best receivers in the league. Now DeAndre Swift is one of the best running backs in the league. We have one of the best offensive lines, if not the best in the league. Jared Goff looks like Jared Goff that we thought we were getting from the Rams, which is good enough to win with. It's just a totally different vibe offensively. And this game proved it. And you're right. We could beat any team by 3. We could lose to any team by 3. But I like our chances against a lot of teams.
I agree, man. And then not to mention, I was just talking the Bills, and Lions end up playing the Bills. And not just on any ordinary day. On Thanksgiving, ladies and gents, we're taking on probably the Super Bowl favorites, Thanksgiving. And if somehow the Lions were to win this game and have, granted, we still have a solid record. We just did implode and then get a lucky one. If the Lions were to win this game, I think we're going to see Detroit just take a next step of sports fandom. We've seen, the Red Wings truthers, the Tigers truthers, the Pistons truthers even now start to come out. But Detroit Lions fans are different. And if they were to beat the Buffalo Bills, who have been just looking so dang good each week, and they probably will be looking that good until Thanksgiving, if we were to beat them, oh my goodness, sky is the limit for the Lions. But we will get to that in a few weeks. While we're talking Amon-Ra, let me just list some of the ridiculous stats that he broke. He is now the first wide receiver in NFL history to have 8 catches and a touchdown in 6 straight games. Ironically, Cooper Kupp has on a 5-game streak of 8 catches and a touchdown, so he can tie him up next week. But Amon-Ra has a chance to make it 7. So as long as Amon-Ra is still catching 8 catches, 1 touchdown each week, we don't got to worry about Cooper Kupp. But another big stat, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Michael Thomas, and Antonio Brown, 2 possible Hall of Famers. Antonio Brown, very much so, and Michael Thomas, likely, I'd say, have both. All 3 of these guys have had 8 straight games of 8+ catches. Another phenomenal stat. And then there was one more that I'm going to try to pull up here. But also, Julius, did you see, real quick, he was getting interviewed, and the reporters were asking him, were there any players that you kept your eyes on? Because we know that they drafted, a wide receiver before you. And he goes, I know who you're talking about. It's Dynami Brown. And I'm going to pull up the exact quote, but just give me some thoughts on how is this Amon-Ra's peak, or can he truly get better than this?
Oh, you can tell that he can get better. And even if this is his peak, this is a hell of a peak in your second year. You breaking NFL records, setting NFL records. You getting mentioned among the greats in football. If this is Amon-Ra's peak, I'm cool with it. We got a legit receiver that hopefully for a long time we're going to end up paying, because when his contract come around, we're going to have to pay Amon-Ra. He's going to demand top money on the market because he gets open. Okay, that's something that teams covet. Somebody who gets open. and adjusts to the ball and knows the playbook inside and out and is a Swiss Army knife. You can give him handoffs. You can put him in space. You can put him in a slot. You can put him outside. He's going to demand big money. But Amon-Ra, I mean, you could tell he wears the chip on his shoulder. It's almost he'd never lose that chip. He'd never lose it because all those receivers picked before him, he lists them off. He knows them by heart. He'd never forget that information. And so if this is peak Amon-Ra, we got a stud at receiver right now.
Absolutely, man. And honestly, like, just like no like throwing anything shade to Jared Goff, but imagine if he was with like Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes or a true like legit quarterback. This guy would be all over every headline. He's starting to make waves, but it's because he's in Detroit and doesn't have a all-pro quarterback thrown to him. But man, if Amon-Ra, and honest to God, if we go back in this NFL draft, I think the only two wide receivers you can make a case for, obviously Jamar Chase and then Jalen Waddle. I legit think you could debate taking Amon-Ra over him.
You could. I think you could, definitely.
And both, granted, both have performed outstanding, but Amon-Ra, man, from the value pick, give me him in the 4th round over any. Honestly, that was probably the best value pick in the draft. All out of any player.
Oh,
so.
Definitely. Listen, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Deandre Swift are becoming household names.
Absolutely.
Around America. Let me tell you why. I live in Texas. I live in Central Texas. Nobody ever talks about the Lions. Nobody ever talks. I'm the only Lions fan I know most times. I got randos walking up to me at work talking about how the Lions look good. Amon-Ra, St. Brown look like the truth. DeAndre Swift look like the truth. How the Lions, they looking like they don't look like, people are starting to notice the Lions. The vibe is totally different. I've never even felt this before.
It's awesome, man. And now you're known as the Lions guy. Anytime someone's like, "Ooh, I want to talk about Swift,"
not a shameful label.
Amon-Ra, going to you, man. So it's always great to be the Lions guy when you're out of state, because my brother was that when he was living in Chicago. He was the big Detroit sports fan, and granted, we were pretty bad during that time, except for the Red Wings, but all his buddies would always come to him and talk Red Wings, and they would go through that. So
sure.
And then finally, the last amazing stat on Amon-Ra St. Brown is he has scored a touchdown in 6 straight games, tying a streak where I love this because no one has mentioned this streak. They just say, I've seen the Lions tweet it, the Lions PR, but no one has said the stat I'm about to say, and that he is now tied with Barry Sanders and Herman Moore as the most touchdowns in 6 straight games. I'm wording that wrong. So 6 straight games with a touchdown. And only Herman Moore, Barry Sanders has done that. Obviously, passing touchdowns don't count because Stafford would have shattered that. And Amon-Ra is at 6 right now, has a chance to make it 7, beating out Barry Sanders for most consecutive games as a Detroit Lion with a touchdown, which that's pretty crazy. And he already beat out Calvin Johnson. So
thank you, Brad Holmes. That's all I can say.
And then, dude, what does Brad Holmes do? We think Amon-Ra, this is going to be the best steal this guy's ever drafted. 4th round gem. He follows it up with Malcolm Rodriguez, 6th round pick, a guy who is looking like he's honestly probably going to, maybe not right now, but by week 8, for sure week 1 next year, he will be the defensive leader. He will be having the headset on, running the defense, and he's going to be that guy. And I'm excited for it, man, because he's the perfect dude too, between just attitude, personality, chemistry, positivity. You just like everything you want in a stout linebacker. That's Rodrigo, baby. And then also, I think it was actually, I forget what Lions reporter said it, but he was talking about Rodriguez filling in holes, and he made the name of Starsky and Hutch, and that's what Malcolm Rodriguez is.
Baldinger. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's who it was. Yes. And and I was like, that's great. And then someone else was like, how about Rodsky and Hutch? And I was like, that's pretty good too. Either or, these are solid nicknames for these guys, because these two are going to be a legit, tandem moving forward.
Oh yeah. The trio of Aiden Hutchinson on the D-line, Malcolm Rodriguez in the middle with the linebackers, and Jeff Okudah out in the secondary. Those are the three guys that's going to lead our defense into the next, destination. And Rodriguez, thank you, Brad Holmes. Thank you, Brad Holmes. Malcolm Rodriguez, the Detroit Cowboy, he can be a lifelong Lion. I feel like we can keep him for like 10 to 12 seasons, and he could just become a legend in Detroit because he has it. He has it, period. And you can't teach it, and size and athleticism can't limit it. And that's what Malcolm Rodriguez, what he lacks in, like I said, size or stature, he more than brings back with tenacity, focus. This dude is smart. He has his personality, like you said. He just enjoys playing the game, like watching a kid play. That's a huge compliment to get as an NFL player. Somebody say it's like watching a kid play, and that's what you get with Malcolm Rodriguez. That's what you get with Aiden Hutchinson. So it's just great to have. Thank you, Brad Holmes.
Thank you indeed. And then not to mention, Julius, one thing that a lot of Lions fans, including, myself, maybe even you and Nick, that, haven't really thought about, we're getting our second best cornerback from last year back in Jerry Jacobs. He's, going to return sometime, probably not going to be till like weeks 9, 10, 11, 12, assuming that they, ease him into it just because, don't want to rush seeing what's happened with Godwin and some of these other players getting rushed in from ACL injuries. So Jerry Jacobs, he's going to be returning. And then Romeo Okwara, our sack leader from a couple of years ago, will be returning. And seeing how good Jeff Okudah has been playing off of his Achilles injury, seeing James Robinson tear it up with his Achilles injury, Sterling Shepard catching 50-yard touchdown passes with his Achilles injury, those are, 4 different positions. And it tells me that yes, the Achilles injury is bad, but it ain't the death sentence. And granted, he might not be, the same player he once was, but as long as he can contribute, can come give us, 5 to 7 sacks a season, I will absolutely take that. And not to mention, we had Julian Okwara step it up last year, in which, Romeo was out and he had 5 sacks. So if the Okwara brothers start to produce, the Lions defense could get a lot better.
Our pass rush is just going to, it's like I'm really hopeful for it because, like you just mentioned, Dog Wars, you got Charles Harris, who still look like the for real deal. Aiden on the other side. Kaminsky, he's only going to be out a couple weeks, hopefully, but he adds a lot. Then we're about to get back Pascal and hopefully Ozarwerky soon. Throw that into the middle. Alan McNeil has been very underrated playing nose for us, but we need a little bit more. Same with Isaiah Buggs. Also, I mean, our secondary is going to get better too because you could tell that our secondary is feeding off the pass rush. They work in tandem. So as much as our pass rush damage is done, it just helps the secondary lock down the receivers even more. Jeff Okudah and Tracy Walker and all those guys. So it's just a great spot to be in. Not to mention Jameson Williams coming back too. We got so many players coming back.
Yeah, for real, man. I can't imagine what this, offense will look like with Jameson. And honestly, I'm assuming that, it won't mess up any of the chemistry, but hopefully Goff, doesn't try to force feed anything just like, because, I got to throw it deep to my Jameson because, he's just coming in. And I just want Goff to just stay the course, find the open man, and let it be Amon-Ra.
Hey, if Jameson is open 50 yards down the field because everybody is focusing on Amon-Ra and Deandre Swift underneath, that's launch it off, Jared. Launch it.
And honestly, Julius, it's like kind of I saw something literally the other night in which the Vikings were playing the Eagles, and this was Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown were kind of just tearing them up for the first half. And the next thing you know, they hit Quez Watkins with like a 60, maybe 70-yard touchdown pass. Yeah. And it was literally because the defense was so focused on Hurts, on A.J. Brown, on Miles Sanders, these playmakers, that they let, the deep threat slip their mind. And granted, James Williams is a lot better than Quez Watkins. But he's still, as a rookie, he's not going to be like, oh, we have to watch this guy. He's really good. He hasn't done something yet. So that's another thing I like. Jameson can just explode, and teams won't really know what to do with it because his first 2 games, will only be his first 2 games that they have, film on him for. So
I agree.
A lot to hope for. One thing that I will say, Julius, this is starting to concern me, and it's our boy TJ Hawkinson. He leads the league in drops with 7, which is just something that you do not want your tight end to have. Something that, Hawkinson hasn't really had a problem with the drops in past, but he just has not looked the best. So for me, Julius, I'm kind of already out on TJ Hawkinson, but do you think that he can turn it up a notch and kind of be, the tight end he was last year as opposed to what we're kind of seeing right now?
Yeah, he definitely can. He has the aptitude to catch the balls being thrown at him. I think that, he just, in the first game against Philly, we saw Hawkinson and Goff were off sequence with each other. Like Hawk was running the wrong routes, or Goff was getting the wrong reads with Hawkinson. That seemed to correct itself with Washington, and then you start to see drops, with more drops with the Commanders. And honestly, TJ Hawkinson has the talent. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it in training camp. We've seen it in seasons before. He's a Pro Bowl tight end. I don't know, if it's just more mouths to feed now, and it's just him getting into his groove a little slower because he's not one of the main guys. But he has the potential to be, and I think he's gonna. I think teams might start to forget about TJ Hawkinson. He gonna burn him, just like at the end of the Commanders game. Huge catch. He made a huge catch because they these teams are gonna start to focus on Amon-Ra and Swift more and stuff, and they're gonna forget about TJ Hawkinson. They're gonna forget about Jameson Williams. They're gonna forget about DJ Shark.
Yeah, you make a great point, Julius. Amon-Ra, as great as he's playing, he has now attracted every cornerback 1. So he's going to be facing the best of the best, probably some double teams. And I'm almost positive the Commanders weren't ready, treating him like an elite wide receiver 1. But now he is put on notice. I can almost guarantee you Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith will be having all eyes on him all game. But, another stat about Amon-Ra, another thing of him, breaking history, he becomes the 3rd player in NFL history age 22 or younger to produce a touchdown reception in 6 straight games, joining Randy Moss and Rob Gronkowski. So a couple of solid pass catchers that he's named with.
Crazy.
Crazy indeed. Was there? I'm trying to see if there. And then, okay, another thing that I did want to bring up was a lot of people, you might be thinking, oh, the Commanders, they're terrible pass blocking. That's how Hutchinson had 3 sacks and the Lions had 5 total sacks. Wrong. Last week against the Jaguars, against a very stout defensive end, Josh Allen, and the number 1 overall pick against Trayvon Walker, who granted did get a sack, but that was the only sack the Commanders let up. So 1 sack last week, 5 this week. It showed me that the Lions, we can be a 5 to 7 sack team against, not elite offensive lines, but, average / below average offensive lines like the Commanders and even the Vikings next week, who Kirk Cousins, I'm going to look back at how many sacks he took, but it was at least a couple. So, all in all, I'm feeling good about next week. And the Lions came in as a 6.5 point dog, surprisingly, after the Eagles just trounced the Vikings. And pretty much it was weird because, we lost the Eagles by 3. Then the Eagles blow out the Vikings, and the Vikings are still a heavy favorite. Granted, they are home, but the spread is down to 5.5. I think Vegas and Lions fans realized and jumped all over that, so it makes a little more sense. But I agree with you, Julius. We were talking about before the show that this should be a 3-point game. This should just be your typical home field advantage, 3 points that the other team's getting. But all in all, obviously, I think the Lions cover. But do we get a victory?
All in all, at this point, I think we do. Okay, but I can see the Lions losing this game by 3 or winning by 3. But I'm gonna predict them to win by 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if we won by more than that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I would be surprised if the Vikings came in and did to us what they did to the Green Bay Packers in week 1, to pretty much dominate them on both sides of the ball. Very surprising they did that and then turned around and went to Philly and laid an egg. We got them on a short week. They're not invincible. We know this. The Lions defense could get gashed by Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. I think, though, that our pass rush, right? Our pass rush is going to show up again against Minnesota's O-line. I really do. And I think it's going to cause Kirk Cousins the similar problems that caused Carson Wentz. And I think our offense is going to continue to produce on the ground well enough to kill them with play action. They are not good against play action on defense. I think the Lions are going to win this game. I really do. And I think they're going to cover the spread, definitely. You guys, I think they're at plus 200 underdog. Put the bets down. Get the bets in. Because that is gold for the Lions. They were one of the best covering teams last season. And it looks like they're going to be one of the best teams again until they start to catch up. So I got them covering and winning.
Yeah, I agree too. I think they will cover and win as well. The over-under is set at 53.5, the highest on the slate of any NFL game. So we're going to be seeing a fun one, folks. I think Kirk Cousins, you know how he is for the Lions. He usually gets the job done. He handles us pretty well. And, of course, Justin Jefferson, you can't discount him and what he's done to us. And then before Justin Jefferson was around, there was a man named Dalvin Cook who kind of owned the Detroit Lions for quite some time. But all in all, the keys to victory, if we can kind of just keep Justin Jefferson in check. We saw it 3 nights ago, Monday Night Football. I don't know. When Darius Slay granted an all-pro cornerback, and I'm on EO and Jeff Okudah have been playing good ball, but Darius Slay's probably the tier higher than them, and he shut down Justin Jefferson, had 2 picks, and it was partially because Kirk Cousins was trying to force feed him. But that's what I would like to see. I want to see Cousins try to force feed Justin Jefferson, because when that happens, we've seen it a lot. He turns the ball over. He did not look good. Honestly, Cousins should have thrown 5 interceptions in that Eagles game. There was plenty of dropped ones, and he just seemed rattled if it was, under pressure, if he was trying to release the ball. And like you mentioned, Julius, with this pass rush, if we could pressure Kirk Cousins, I think that will be huge. And honestly, 1-1 heading to Minnesota, we have a chance to, I believe, if we win this game, I think, and no, I did first place. We are, depending on the points and what the Packers do, but ultimately the Bears, they don't have a division win. The Packers, they do have a division win, and the Lions, they won. We have a division win, so we would only be tied with the Packers. But the Vikings did beat the Packers, so that would probably play into some sort of, X factor thing. But you gotta say, Julius.
Yeah.
Lions, we're gonna be 2-1 next week. Give me a couple of more keys to victory.
Well, we can't let anybody outside Justin Jefferson. I think we mentioned this. We can't get gashed by Irv Smith or Jalen Reagor or who's the Jefferson, their other receiver, the other
Thielen.
Thielen. I always forget he's getting phased out. He hasn't done anything this year. But we have to focus on let Jefferson and their run game, because that's what they like to do on offense. It's kind of the same thing the Lions like to do. They like to get Dalvin Cook going and then boom, kill you with the play action with Cousins and Jefferson. And I think that's pretty easy to key on, to be honest. Another key, our offense got to keep rolling. We can't. Jared Goff, just stay the frame. Stay the frame. As long as Jared Goff plays well, don't make any mental lapse. Don't fold under pressure. Our offense should score plenty of points. And to be honest, I'm looking at our secondary in this game because of Justin Jefferson. He's regarded as the best receiver in the football. I want to see Okudah. This is a challenge for Okudah. This is a challenge for Tracy Walker and Deshaun Elliott, who I thought kind of started to play not as well in the second half against Washington, and that's one of the reasons they were starting to move the ball through the air. The safeties weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing on several plays. However, I think the Lions, I'm going to give a score prediction. I think the Lions are going to win this game 30-24.
Oh, I like it. I like it. For me, I'm thinking it's going to be a high-scored game too. Right now, I'm looking at the odds, and we got 68% of the bets are placed on the Lions +6. So it's looking like that's a solid favorite. And then honestly, we're getting 40% of the money line, which that's pretty respectable. And come close to game time, I would expect it to probably be a little bit tighter than that, because plus 200, even more on some, depending on what site you are, that's pretty solid. And seeing what the Vikings just did and what the Lions just did. So ride the momentum, boys. I'd love to see it. But yes, if we're going to talk real quick about last year, what happened, the first time we took on the Vikings, we kind of held Kirk Cousins in check. He wasn't really doing a whole lot, not a whole lot of touchdowns. It was pretty much just Alexander Mattison that dominated us. 25 carries, 113 yards, and Justin Jefferson, 7 catches, 124 yards. So if we can keep them in check, we should be all right. But honestly, if we can't keep them in check, the Lions could very well win this in a shootout. So
that's a factor that we wasn't talking about last.
Exactly.
We were never saying, "Oh, our defense could hold them," but our offense can't keep up. We wouldn't win in shootouts last season. This season, we're saying we can win a shootout. It don't even matter if our defense gives up 25.
You know what's funny? Because the game we did win against the Vikings last year was a shootout, 29-27 Lions victory. Jared Goff, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns. Swift didn't even play. Amon-Ra, 10 catches, 86 yards, a touchdown. I think this was his first blossoming of a superstar. And then this is weird. Our last 2 games, we have not seen Dalvin Cook. I guess it's just my memory from like 2019, 2020, maybe in 2018 of Dalvin Cook dominating us. But all in all, the Vikings rushed offense just kind of is very good. Madison went 22 for 90 with a touchdown. And then Jefferson, 11 catches, 182 yards with a touchdown. So maybe we don't need to shut anyone down. Maybe we just need to do what we did the last 2 weeks, because it seems like the Vikings, they have a good offense, but not good enough to score 30. So
hey, how have we lost to the Vikings in the past? Every time I can remember, it's because we were getting gashed in the run game. I remember that game last year when Madison was just ripping off like 12 yards here, 8 yards there, 20 yards there, just in big chunks, because we had no resistance in our front 7. But I don't think it's going to be that bad this time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring too. I think the Lions are going to get back over 30 again. I'm going to go 34-28 Lions victory.
Woo!
Yes, sir. All right. That's all we got for you guys tonight. As always, check us out on Twitter at Honolulu Blues _. Check me out on Twitter at EverydayFFB. And then check out my boy Julius on Twitter at The Fifth Top. Next week, I know you guys were probably looking for Nick, the third man of our trio. He is out enjoying his honeymoon with his beautiful wife. So, yes, congrats, Nick, in case you're watching from Mexico, wherever resort you're at. Probably not. But enjoy your time, buddy. We'll see you hopefully next week and talk another Lions victory. But, Julius, it seems like anytime Nick misses a show, something good usually comes out of it, because there might have been one more time, but the one that really does stand out was, of course, the draft recap when we took Swift, and me and you were like, "Oh, baby, we got Swift, let's go!" Crazy. And little did we know the superstar he would become.
It's crazy. Time flies, right? Time flies.
Absolutely. And as always, check us out. Give us a subscribe. We love it all. And you guys are over on our Twitter. We got a little Deandre Swift jersey giveaway going. All you got to do is just like the tweet and tag a Lions friend. If you want 5 bonus entries, just subscribe to the podcast and let us know in the DMs and you'll be in. So go check that out on our Twitter page, Honolulu Blues _. And we will see you all next week. Go Lions.
Go Lions. Beat the Vikings.
Yes, sir.